Hi there, I'm Simone from the Sunny Pint.
And I'm Sue, also from the Sunny Pint and also from Brew, Florida.
And today we've got a crossover video for you. This is a video from when Sue and our friend Seth brewed some beer in Chicago. And that was October of 2018, so like a year ago. Took us a little bit to get this done. And what kind of beer did you brew?
We brewed a CDA, or Cascadian Dark Ale, also known as a black IPA.
Sounds delicious.
Unfortunately, I have not tasted it because the finished product is still in Chicago.
But it was really cool to make. So take a look. It's a fun video, and make sure to subscribe to whichever channel you're watching because they're both fantastic. And cheers!
I'm Sue from the Sunny Pint.
And my name's Seth, and I brew some homebrews under the name of Spakatumi Brewing. Yeah, so as you see here, we have some dark malt extract and some grains. We're doing a partial grain, so we're doing kind of part malt, part grain. Getting ready to mash in here in a minute. We'll steep that for about an hour. We'll sparge with some water that we have set off to the side. Boil with 4 different sets of hops, including Chinook, Magnum, some Centennial at a couple different times, and we'll dry hop that.
And Cascadian
hops.
Dark Ale.
That is correct. That is correct. Thanks, Sue.
It's an IPA. It's a black IPA with Cascade hops and other hops, and it just seems to give a little more roundness and fullness to it. It's not quite as sharp as some other IPAs, and it's dark black, which is really cool. We are going to add the grains, which is called mashing in. So we're going to take these were full grains, and we had them cracked at the brew shop, and we're gonna pour them in here. This has about this much water in it, and we're gonna let them cook for
About an hour.
about an hour.
So we just added the grain here as we mashed in. The original temperature was 166 degrees, and our mashing temperature is 156 degrees. You overshoot a little bit to compensate for the coolness of the grain, so that when it drops in, it hits right at the temperature.
So we were looking at the temperature, and you said that it went a little bit high. So what's the range of temperature we need to keep this at, and how do you keep it at that temperature while we're doing this?
Absolutely. So our goal temperature was 156 Fahrenheit. We shot up to about 159, so I went ahead and cut the heat. But you have about 5 to 10 degrees on either side of that. The more control you have at the 156, the better extraction. You're going to get just the sugars and the flavor components you want. If you go too high, you can get a little bit bitter, you can overcook it. You also can pull things out of the shells and the grains you don't necessarily want to bring into your beer. So you want to keep it arranged, keep measuring it, but play with your heat to try to keep it around the 156 degrees we're trying to get.
Great. How are the grains coming?
Looking pretty good. They're pretty swollen at this point, and we're just trying to go from 159 back down to 156. I'm giving them a little stir just to keep things moving in the pot. All right, so the next step is sparging. It's taking some water that's at temperature from our current steeping and rinsing the grains to get all the sugars and the flavors and everything out of them, so we can pull them out of the batch and get ready for the boil.
So what's the bag for?
So when you don't have a good way at home to strain all the grain out of your beer, you have a couple of methods. You could run it through a strainer, which takes a lot of time pouring and cleaning, or you can do a boil in a bag method. So that you go ahead and cook it in the bag, buy these nice fine mesh bags, pull all your grain out, then just clean the bag and you're good, but your liquid stays nice and clean from all the shells.
We're doing a partial grain brew, and we don't have enough grain to make the malt. So we bought extract, and this is a dark one because we're making a dark beer. Looks like you're using tap water. Is that okay?
Yeah, tap water's okay. Depends on what your water tastes like, but Chicago has pretty good water. Our tap water tastes really nice and clean, and so we're using this, and then since it's going to get boiled, we don't have to worry too much about any impurities or anything that are in the water, so we don't need to use distilled. But if you're in an area that doesn't have clean water, a good option is to go buy 7 gallons of distilled water, and you can use that for your brew.
how long is our total boiling process going to be?
We're gonna boil for 60 minutes. Hop additions every 15, with a final hop addition at 0.
So this is the boring part.
Yes, it is.
Kind of like being on a film set, except unlike a film set, we get to drink beer while we're doing it.
Cheers.
So our syrupy hot water here is actually called wort, isn't it?
That is correct.
And we're not boiling it just for an hour with no interaction, true?
True. So during the boil, we're gonna add in hops. We're gonna add it in multiple steps. So we're not making a super hoppy beer, so we're not using large amounts of hops. We're gonna add an ounce of Magnum once we get it to a boil. Then we'll boil for 15 minutes. We'll add the Chinook at 45 minutes left on the boil. Then we'll boil that for 40 minutes, and then we'll go down and add the Centennial with 5 minutes left on the boil. And as soon as we turn off the boil, we'll drop in the Cascades. A few days after we get this in the fermenter and let it go, we'll dry hop again with Centennial. It's an ounce of each for each one. The nice thing about adding the Magnum and the Chinook at the beginning is those both have really high alpha acids, and so they impart a lot more bitterness. Don't actually add a lot of like nose or really much of the flavor, just really good bittering hops. Then as we get towards the tail end of the boil, and even in the dry hopping, we're adding in a lot of scent, a lot of flavor from that. So we use lower alpha acid, but more pungent and more flavorful hops to do that.
So you're really getting the flavor and nose from these, and this is just the bittering.
Absolutely, yeah. The Centennial and Cascade will be kind of the dominant flavor and scent of the beer, and then the Magnum and Chinook will really drive the bitterness that we want to get into the CPA.
Great. So we've just reached a boil. Time to add our first hops?
You know it.
All right, we're gonna add the Magnums, right?
That is correct. Smell
They
delicious.
smell really good. These are hop pellets. So hops are ground down and made into pellets. It's been 15 minutes, so now it's time to add the Chinook hops, which smell delicious.
Oh man, they do.
So it's been about 55 minutes of total boil, correct?
You got it.
So now we're adding some flavoring hops,
That is correct.
Centennial hops. So we're finished with our boil, and we turn off the heat, and then we add these Cascade hops.
That is correct. We're attempting. 1.060. We are at 62. There we go.
So we made beer.
We did.